until now, I'm sure this is still largely true, the strongest opposition from the LGB community has been from lesbians. Some of that's coming from the feminist critique. I think probably
Yeah.
the more pressing reason has come from the fact that pressure on lesbians to have sexual relationships
Yeah.
with autogynephilic trans women
Yeah.
has been quite strong for quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gay men have not had that much pressure, or maybe have
It's starting to
withstood it
come in, I
better.
gather. I mean, my app days, my sort of, those days are long gone, but I have some useful spies and they tell me, it's increasing all the time, that, sort of, a friend of mine was saying to me recently that he was on Grindr or one of those things, and it was kind of about, he estimated it at about being like 1 in 8 of the people on there was a woman. Yeah.
1 in 8. That's so
Yeah.
high.
I mean, he's in, the centre of a city, a very urban sort of progressive place with lots of students in it. So maybe it's coming from there, but that is encroaching. I've also seen what's happening is that when you turn the women down, they complain to the Grindr authorities, and you get kicked off.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
I know. Yeah,
going to the Grindr head teacher. Yeah.
And I think what happens is that they sort of get into a little clique and just say, "Oh, I got turned down by him, and I got turned down by him." So then they make their complaint of transphobia, and you just think, but you're a woman and you're on a gay male dating site. It's not rocket science to work this out, So I think there is that. I mean, this is something that nobody's really talking about, and it's sort of quite fascinating in a way. And obviously, the power dynamic between men and women is so different sexually that it's not coming from a place of actual direct violent threat, which it is from men with women, with lesbians, but it is. I think a lot of gay men just find it baffling. It's sort of they just can't understand it at all. And I think, I say in the book, my sort of experience of that kind of fetishization of male homosexuality from women is quite, I thought it was quite a minor thing. I didn't think it was an issue, really. I mean, my sort of knowledge of it was based on kind of fan fiction that people used to write, like all that One Direction stuff, where there were lots of teenage girls writing fan fiction about Harry and Larry or whatever they were called. And I thought, well, fair enough. And I think, for some straight people, mostly men, but obviously a few women too, they like to think of the sex that they fancy getting it on together, which is, sort of inevitable, I suppose. But the more it gets into popular culture and the more it sort of becomes a sort of titillating thing, the more I think it spreads this kind of idea of the trans gay man, which is,
I interviewed Ray Blanchard years ago. I'm speaking to him again soon for the podcast. I interviewed him for a magazine article and asked him if there is a female counterpart to autogynephilia. And he said no, but there is this thing where it's not that women are turned on by the thought of being a man. It's that the women are turned on by the thought of having sex as a gay man.
Yes.
Which is subtly different.
Yeah.
But
I can see that.
But probably is, what's happening on Grindr. I mean, do these women, how can you tell that they're trans? Is it just from the video, from the photos, or is it from?
It's much harder
do they
to
say
tell
so?
going that way around,
Yeah.
A friend of mine said he was once scrolling through and saw pictures, and it was this guy with his back to him, and he thought, oh, he looks okay. And then the next picture was the front, and it was double mastectomy scars.
Oh, okay.
I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's quite a lot of, from what I hear, again, there's quite a lot of entitlement of you'll be talking to the person and then they'll go, oh, just by the way, I'm a trans gay man. It's like, well, hold on, I think you should have said that before. Or and then it puts you in a situation where you think, well, if I object or if I suddenly cool off, I'll be thrown off. So yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating, and I wish someone would write a book about it. Really go into it, autoandrophilia or whatever you want to call it. And again, a lot of this seems to come from Japan, like the anime stuff. There's, a lot of their teenage girls like read these little comic books full of teenage boys getting it on. It's
Yeah,
it
this
just
is
seems very peculiar to us.
Helen Joyce and I had did a podcast about this recently about
Oh
fan
yeah,
fiction,
yeah,
and there's very weird insights into female sexuality which are not always
yes, yeah,
apparent. Yeah.
yeah,
So you said that gay men are generally confused by this.
yeah.
Is this like, does this work? Are there some gay men who are like, oh, okay, I
Not
guess,
that I've heard of. I mean,
yeah,
when you see occasionally people on Twitter, the sort of women who claim to be trans gay men will say, "Oh, plenty of men fancy me, and plenty of men come on to me," and you just think, well, when they know, well, then that the person's pretty obviously bisexual or straight. It's sort of, but if it is happening, then I think it's probably quite a minority interest. And also, it's the direct reverse of the situation going the other way, because you think, well, actually, I'm more worried about the woman in that situation, and whether she knows what she's getting into, and the danger she's putting herself in a weird way. So it's a really baffling thing, and I really would like to see somebody tackle it. And
I heard from Eliza Mondegreen when she
yeah,
came on the show that there is a phenomenon now of straight men who will go on Grindr or similar apps and will
yeah,
seek out trans identified females
yeah,
for
yeah.
sex.
This doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, if it's as many as 1 in 8, it's not going to be that hard to find them, is it? So you can see why they
Well,
would do
it's
such a
it's the
thing.
old Valerie Solana's quote about men will do anything to get their end away. There are plenty of men like that, and that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Yeah,
Yeah, and these poor women, I mean, it
yeah,
sounds like they're incredibly annoying, like tattling to the Grindr
yeah.
authorities and so on, but also they are basically just really deluded
Yes,
and
yeah, yeah,
stupid and taking risks and all of
yeah.
this. You know,
All those things. Yeah.
they've been led to believe things which are completely false.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the sort of strange idea they have about sort of cute gay men and gay couples and all that kind of thing. It's like, oh, come on. They're still men. With all the things that involves. Um, um, be careful. I mean, I think that kind of fetishization of sort of cuddly gay men as well probably has kicked off some of this as well. It's like, I mean, a friend of mine who's quite famous, is him and his partner and their dog were sort of like they discovered that there were various sort of little groups of women sort of following them, and I mean literally following them, taking pictures of them and sort of fantasizing about their relationship. Like, okay, it's very odd. I mean, the grass is always greener, I suppose. People think, oh, the other sex, the other sexuality must be having a better time than I am. And it's never normally the case, I don't think.
Yeah, and maybe some of these women are being really wound up by. I mean, do they skew young? Would you say?
I think so, yeah, that seems to
Yeah,
be, yeah. I mean, in all sexual things, I think they always skew young anyway, I
I
guess,
suppose because
because,
young people are
yeah, people,
hornier.
people just lose their, a lot of us lose our interest after a while. Um, but yeah, it does seem to be, and it does seem to be being encouraged by all the other LGBTQ plus stuff that's going on.